This is back to basics. Back to basics.
Back to basics.
Back to basics.
Back to basics.
Back to basics.
Back to basics. Back
To basics.
podcast.
Back to basics podcast.
You're listening to Back to Basics podcast. Yo, what up, what up? Ondo Street Lawyer, Back to Basics podcast. We're back again, manze. This is an important one for anyone who is interested in history about the new sound in Kenyan hip hop. It's 10 years later, I think, 2012 to say. But before tufike hapo, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our socials, now follow Back to Basics malio skiza your podcast at na check Citizen Digital, we there pia tukijaribu kungangana kutafuta bag na M-Pesa number iko hapo, kuna merchandise na so many things, na unaweza piga simu uturushie kitu tuendelee ku finance the whole podcasting agenda. Having said that, leo niko na msesi upiga story na yeye sana online na offline, but he's former member of Coola-Gang. Anyone mwenye ako conversant na Kenyan hip hop in the last 10 years unajua Coola-Gang. And I'm talking about the one and only GRANDS is here.
Yes, sir.
My G.
Yeah.
Welcome to Back to Basics.
It's been a long time coming. I think tulibonga hii story
Manze
kitambo sana.
before hizi mavitu zinunuliwe.
Before hizi mavitu.
Man, nakumbuka nikikuhala nikwambia manze natafuta podcast, natafuta ma mics za podcast, manze hebu ni direct place mm get. Yeah.
Before pod yomoke.
Manze before pod.
But congrats though uko hapa.
Shukran, man.
Award-winning pod. Yeah, and it's like a year in.
Yeah, 6.
Yeah,
was it
so
6? I think 6 episodes in. Ilikuwa like, oh, damn. I'll say this ninja's been waiting.
Congrats on that. Happy to be here.
Karibu.
Asante sana.
Yeah, so the only rule Back to Basics of late ni no cussing. Jeez. Other than that, anything goes. But we're just telling the positive and the good stories of the Kenyan entertainment industry,
For
the
sure.
creative economy na Kenyan hip hop, because I feel so many people have talked about the negatives. Hatuna hiyo time tena, because time ina move so fast. So I think it's time to like tell the proper history in a very dope way. And that's the reason why hata nilikuwa sikia una pull up 1 to 5 nikabaki yo, I think this ninja needs to be here.
Yeah, for sure.
So nataka kujua tutaongea about Coola-Gang, but nataka tuanze from the jump, like your music journey. Who's GRANDS yani?
My music journey. I love telling this story, and I think I tell it to anyone who listen, because I find it interesting myself. And it's probably not like the wildest music story. I'm not gonna say it's Juni,
but it's your music
but
story.
it's like my music story, and I love telling it. But nilianza kitambo, I was like 13. So my journey begins when I was 13 years old, 12, 13 years old.
That's high uni. That's high school.
12 years old, that's class 6, class 7,
class 7.
Class 7.
Oh, damn.
And that's probably what, 2003. I was 6 years old, 2004. Well, nilikuwa like 13 years old, and what happened, nasiati hata nilikuwa na like super interest. I was just a fan, like kangoma kamoja hapa on TV, like vitu tu zilikuwa on TV, a reggae song here, because at some point I was even like a reggae head, right? But I know but
itakuchekelea na shukin baadaye.
So it really happened. My dad paid, so my cousin used to play the keys, like full on piano keys in church, right? So my dad asks me if I want to take piano classes. Like, sounds interesting.
Cool.
So I can engage Nani, I can engage Kuzo. Engages my cousin, and like after. So I take classes every Saturday, Saturday afternoon. So in the midst of that, my cousin's bro, I think alikuwa na interest na mziki at some point. And also, I cannot fail to give credit to my older bro, who also had interests in rapping and was writing songs back when Caliph was popping, because that's when he wanted to sort of pop into the studio.
I think everyone mwenye alikuwa tapped into the urban pop culture at that time, by default ulikuwa either unataka kurap ama unataka kurap.
Yeah. Nakumbuka hizo enzi za Caliph, kuna queue nje, you can't get in.
True.
But yeah, but I mean, for my older brother having interest in music, that's way before, like, we were pretty much maybe a bit younger than that. Or yeah, a bit younger, or probably around the same time as well. Around the same time or a bit after. But anyway, that's just like another random influence. But the main story is I'm taking piano classes every Saturday. So that was like my path of entry into music theory, and like, these are notes, this is how it works.
Away from like what you're reading in school.
Yeah.
So at that time music was still in the curriculum.
Yeah, I did do music when I was like in class 2. Kitambo before itolewe.
I think nilifanya music hadi class 7 ama class 8.
Jeez. Yeah. So around then. So at the same time, so my cousin's bro, so my other cousin, right?
The cousin.
Since tulikuwa tuna hang out, at some point nika notice wanna make beat kwa comp. So hizo ni zile enzi where like cyber cafes were the in thing, and like we were all sort of getting our first email addresses, like
Yahoo.
The Yahoos and whatnot, because that was actually like my first email address, like a Yahoo address. So I see him making beats or attempting to make beats on his computer, and I'm super curious. So I'm literally just like seated there, mind blown, after realizing that this is how music is made.
It's made.
So it hadn't hit me. Of course, kitambo, watu walikuwa na record with maybe like a full-on band, recording on like tape in like the big studios and whatnot. And there was a whole technique to it. But I think this is my first time sort of engaging with like a digital PC platform, and I'm seeing music being made, and I can hear the drums and the melodies. So I'm watching that, and I'm literally like, what the hell is this? Like, this is how music is made. And at that point, he's using FL Studio 3. Like, this is back in the days. We're currently, like, Pt1 is about to come out. So this is, like, really back in the days. So I'm really intrigued by that. But then did I have a computer in the house? Probably not. The timeline is fuzzy, but hiyo ndo ilikuwa mara ya kwanza kuona music ikimekiwa on a computer, and like I was mind blown. And I was kind of like, I need this software, and he didn't have it, but then he knew who had like a copy, and I had to like look for like 100 shillings to go get a CD burnt with the software, just so I can have a copy.
Na hiyo process as in ya ku get the do and
bro, kumbuka mimi ni myang niko primo. It's not like I have money, and it's not like
hata ukiambia ma folks ni aje yo I need 100
whatever, like ya nini, because
everything is here.
Yeah, so it's sort of like scratching around, a shilling here, a shilling there, mpaka ifike so alafu nieke FL kwa hii.
Hiyo ni as in hiyo ni
know,
kujituma, entrepreneurship, like
kabisa, just off of like seeing it happen, like let me try it out, and then fumbling, like let me try it out. Eventually I never stuck to the piano classes for long. I sort of fell off that, and then of course in class 7, class 8, and like school is, I guess, happening, and like the tuition on Saturdays, because sasa una ile like a free sato, unadu to show sato. So I sort of fell off that, but I guess the interest never truly faded away. Or not even interest, just the fact that I was intrigued at how music is made. So I would use the FL Studio and fail and fall off, and then come back and, try again. I didn't know what tempo was. So, the thing opens up at like tempo 130. So all my beats were like kind of quick, 20. So like over the years, like into finishing primary school and getting into high school, I believe probably around my first year of high school, like Form 1, I remember having this scratchbook, like just a notebook, where I would conceptualize a beat pattern in my head, like a drum pattern, and sort of like, this is what I'm gonna do when I go home.
Ulikuwa high school wapi?
I went to 2 high schools. Moja ilikuwa Upper Hill. Then I was in Upper Hill for a year, and then for the other 3 years I was in a school in Nyeri, Karatina called Kanjore High School. So I'd sort of take time and sort of like, yeah, this is how it's gonna be, this, or like conceptualize a melody.
Ulikuwa na geek at that early stage, because that's geeking.
Oh no, I've been geeking since I was young. I've been tearing apart.
Like that's geeking.
Nilikuwa nafungua tenje. I've been geeking since I was like pretty young.
That's dope.
Yeah. So I kind of always knew that my direction would be like
one way or
another itakuwa computer, like this on some nerd type stuff. And that's really where I ended up. So you can kind of see how it connects, like geeking out about like tech and stuff like that, and then realizing that music doesn't have to be on like a physical, like blah, blah, blah. Or like playing drums. It's like, oh wait, there's a mesh between like the tech and like the computer world and the music world. So I guess I'm in high school. At this point, I think I'm starting to figure out like how to mess around with like FL Studio. I'm trying to like conceptualize drum patterns. Junilikuwa like nikienda midterm naenda kumake beat. Because I remember my aunt gave me a PC around the time I was joining high school. But sasa unapewa comp, umeiset up, lafu unaenda chuo.
Ukirudi, that's the first
so nikirudi, like that's the only thing I'd be thinking about, is like, yo, I need to go home so I can sort of try and make these beats. So I think around then is when I really started to like figure it out. It's like, this is how a beat is made. This is how a beat is made. So I was a producer before I started rapping.
That's fire. Me nilikuwa nafikiria like the rapping came before. So it's the other way around.
No, it's the other way around.
Because there's so many people, so many tales. You were like the interest in like the rapping first, and then now the beat making, and then proceed.
Especially and sometimes it's out of interest, like mi wana producer wangu aki make beats hivi, so pia mimi like
lazima ni learn ABCs.
And also sometimes as rappers you have the direction that you want to take, but saa zingine lazima ungoje hadi ufike stu so that you can explain it to your beat maker or your producer, like this is what I want. So I think some rappers get into it as well, just because, you know what, like I'm tired of
I think I can do
like
this
I can do this. I can lay down. I'm gonna learn how to do this, or I'm gonna get a studio set up in my house so that I don't have to wait to go to the studio to record. I can record and then pass on the files to
whoever,
like the engineer, producer, pass on. So I figure out beats first, and I'm actively sort of, trying to make, of course, beats za kwanza wanga tu mbaya, like,
but at that time ni fire.
But at that time it's super fire,
because high school just imagine juko funky uko hapo umedrop hapo mabeats zako,
right? Yeah. So I guess another interesting part of the story is, so I switched schools. I switched schools. The school that I go to ilikuwa na sinajua ile keyboard ya CU ile yenye like like you can play the keys, but it has like preloaded instruments and whatnot. So what I do, you remember flash drives? Not flash drives,
floppy disk.
So
diskettes.
Yeah, the diskettes. So I'd have a floppy disk.
Bro, if you, as in my youngins is it's okay.
I'd have a floppy disk on me, and what I'd do is go when the CU guys are practicing like over the weekends, sometimes I'd go with my floppy and just ask for time, like, please give me 10 minutes, I want to try like a thing. And I would plug the floppy disk in and like sort of try like program like a drum pattern and sort of try hit some keys here and there. and then it would sort of save that arrangement on your floppy, so I could sort of now sit back and listen to like the beat that I just made. Of course, you always toka nayo uende uweke kwa comp na icheze, but I guess it was just me like looking for an avenue. Like, how do I, like, I'm in school, no access. How do I make,
as in the
freaking
drive is
beat?
there?
Yeah, like how do I make a beat on this, you know? And then at some point, again, I'm in high school, and one of the clubs that I was in, because tulikuwa na hizo ma clubs, ilikuwa like the history club, we make some money and we thought of buying a PC. So club ya histo ilikuwa na comp. The chair or like the secretary of like the history club was like one of my best friends in high school. So nilikuwa like, usituende kwa lab tutumie comp, and we would just like pop in, and I installed FL on that computer, and I would now at least from time to time have an opportunity to sort of try out a thing here and there. But I think things really turned around after high school.
After high school is where the magic happens.
That's where the magic happens. And I say that because if you remember, for us, I don't know if it was the same situation for you, but then you'd finish high school and then you'd have a gap of about a year.
Manze miss kuget yo nini. That is how it was supposed to happen at our time. But now problem ni ya, my folks walikuwa like, bro, unamaliza ukimali. Mi nilijoin Kole before nimalize high school. Like nilijoin Kole na results zangu za mock, because the results were out, and then I also washa identify manze there's this Kole blah 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 nini washa engage, so niko like bro.
So ulimaliza chuo ka
kitu tu ilifanya nikaka home at least for some time nini itoje post-election violence, sadly, into post-election, so it happened, so we had to like to chill, but the moment tu vitu zili cool down, bro, boom, mi nilikuwa daro,
ulikuwa chuo.
so man, but
yeah. I mean, iko na advantage because you sort of get ahead of the curve, like you have some time ahead.
Yes, there's that part, but now pia kuna part na it really affected my Kole at that time, because ilikuwa na do diploma at that time, so unajua nilikuwa na hype. I think that 1 year gap ni important because inakufanya everything ukitaka kudo in high school and unafeel umekaziwa, uko na a whole year ya kuido, like do this. So na imagine mimi na hiyo hype nimeingia nayo Kole, and then hizi vitu zote ziko hapa, so uko like oh shit, ile so ikafika mahali uko like hey, stuff ina affect my grades and nini, so I had to like sit back and kwanza tena sasa ndo unakuwa disciplined enough na nini. So nilikam ku experience the 1 year NSCO experience immediately after high school in 2011. That's why nilikuwa na time mingi ya kudurum 16. Back to you.
Okay. So all right. No, that's just interesting. I think that's one of the most different ways I've had people do it, especially the fact that umesema uliingia Kole na results za the mock examinations.
That's a mock manzi,
because I mean there's people who didn't do the year, but they had maybe 3 months kind of like for their results to come out and for them to sort of figure out what they're jumping into. And I guess a lot of them would also go to private unis, because with the public unis you kind of have to wait for the year for the selections and like everything.
It was Kole, most def private Kole.
Yeah.
Then after that hivyo just put a private uni, kiendelea na life.
Yeah. So hii mwaka moja kumbuka nilipewa comp. My aunt had given me a PC. So, and I think that was the first PC from a different aunt who was kind of like, I see that you're very interested in like computers and I have an extra PC, please have it. But then her sister, so my other aunt, also had an open PC that was of course faster and newer than this other one. And she was kind of like, look, yeah, you have a year, I have a PC, if you're interested, adingara iko happy. you know, so now I have a faster PC that's more helpful. Now I can truly sort of figure out how to make beats on it. So at E.J 1 year, first of all, two things. Well, Twitter is starting to pop. So I'm on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter is starting.
Right?
Yeah,
This is 2009.
Yeah, 2009.
2009. Because I joined Twitter in 2009 and then took a hiatus. I think truly came back 2010. So 2010 is my open year, right? When I'm home. So Twitter is happening. The hip hop scene generally was popping because this is the blog era and the mixtapes era.
This is for the new school. Actually, too generally, that's the other era of mixtapes, because kulikuwa na ile at the 90s and then the mixtapes are back. Fab is dropping, the Mills are getting in it. Blah,
And,
blah,
and,
blah.
and these are the tapes being hosted by like DJs and so a few things are happening. So there's the internet and there's Twitter, and then there's also a couple of new school acts who are like in that space, and that's where I'd talk about Akina Capella. That's where I'd talk about Camp Mula sort of starting to come in.
Apparently nilikuwa na ucha anaitwaje Colo Klepto on CTA. Camp Mula walikuwa na do stuff back in 2009.
2009 probably hizo ndo maenzi wale because they had to have started ndo tukuje kuwajua lazima wakuwali grind
because alikuwa nasema because at that time ndo Kolo alikuwa na do the second coming of Klepto minus Nyashinsky, the Magnetics, the nini, and then Kolo as a solo artist nini. That's 2009, 2010, 2011. Apparently those kids were doing nilisikia even nilikuwa like, oh damn.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised because when you think about it, by the time tunawajua they must have,
because if wewe ulikuwa na go through the same journey which na feel more or less nyinyi ni like the same class more or less, give or take.
More or less, but I would definitely say that they probably got into it on a more professional level before me, because in this year so that's what I was trying to say. Two things were happening. I guess the year before, or maybe 2 years before, is when I started trying to write raps. So remember hii time yote nimekuwa nikimake beats here and there.
Beats,
but at this point I'm also interested in like rap music, and I have a friend of mine, and he probably doesn't know this. I've probably never told him, but hata tukiwa primo alikuwa like nipeleke tao nataka kubuy album ya I remember him saying anataka kubuy album ya Chingy or something like that.
Chingy alikuwa amepop at that time.
Kulikuwa na duka fulani, kuna hii duka hii place fulani ilikuwa into Nairobi Market, mali kulichomeka somewhere near Nairobi Stalls or something like that.
Mali Nakumatt ilikuwa?
No, Mali was there Nakumatt opposite Kimathi House?
Yeah, that's Nakumatt. Nini ilikuwa inaitwaje? There's a Nakumatt downtown, so that's where Nakumatt was.
Downtown ilikuwa chini.
Hapana, that was Nakumatt downtown.
What's the Nakumatt ilikuwa chini karibu na railways?
No, that's hiyo ni ya Moi Avenue. That's the new one, because hii iliban directly opposite Kimathi. Iliban because kulikuwa na ma issues and nini.
There used to be stalls there, right?
Yes.
Nairobi Stalls. I think that was the name.
Yes.
So he'd be like, yeah, like Nairobi Stalls, I want to buy like an album. And then he'd have like a couple of albums. And even like fast forwarding that section, I feel like I sort of picked up that mixtape and album culture from my boy, because like he'd collect. And that's kind of how I got into like listening to full on, like he'd collect mixtapes. and we'd play them like ile time like nikimvisit napata nasikiza and I was kind of like like kumbe kuna vitu zenye hata si album ni mixtape like I sound official iko na mse ana piga kinduru huko like some DJ like who's hosting it and so there's that, and I'm sort of starting to pick up on that. At the same time, I'd started writing raps because I remember wiki if I'm not wrong, wiki yetu ya KCSE. My classmates sort of banged the tables and made me rap, and I'd say that was probably my first time performing because they were kind of like hakuna vile tunafunga tunaachana na ujai tuambia ni nini hizi wa uandika wewe usema unapenda muziki
rap hizi vitu ni unaandika.
Yeah, because I sort of was like the hip hop urban music ambassador in school because people would see the look on my face when they would play like other like genres of music, and hip hop would be given like the least
high school bro. Mimi nakwambia like being in high school away from like Nairobi, and not even Nairobi as such, like easy urban centers like maybe Nakuru, Nairobi, Coastal, unapatanga hiyo sana cause reggae and these other alternative sounds
dance hall kubanjuka na mabelt, you know. So that was like the culture. So me nilikuwa nangoja what's the show on Friday? Hip Hop Halisi with Labala, and they'd have like the cypher at the end with the battles. Like I was the guy who would watch. I think that there was like those daily shows. So Hip Hop Halisi or ilikuwa inaitwa Hip Hop Halisi.
It
had a name.
Ilikuwa inaitwa The Re-Up.
Yeah, so I was the guy who would love the Re-Up because they would play my type. Of course kulikuwa na day ya reggae days.
No, hiyo ilikuwa time ya, but that's kitambo. Time ya akina Rapem, Rastrat, and then Kaskas. You remember that? Oh. That's like kitambo. But in terms of TV, the beat was popping, I think at that time. The beat was popping and then Straight Up was popping. And now kwa the beat, kulikuwa na 2 segments. We had Hip Hop Halisi on Friday, hosted by Wakamba Wawili.
Yeah.
And then on Mondays, we had the cypher sessions called the Re-Up.
And the theme song, I remember the theme song was the game. The dope boys in the building. That was like the theme. That's the beat that they would use. And they had like amazing graphics. And for me, that was like, oh my god, like this is actually like
that was major because that's so many people. There's something nimekuwa niki try to put together the pieces because na feel that Hip Hop Halisi era, so many people who are part of your era credit. And those ninjas they did what they had to do. Kuna issue and also walikuwa nasema those guys were biased, they were just playing Mau jams and nini. It's okay, but at least they played Kenyan.
But were they though? Because I feel like it was I do remember seeing the what's the song with the tower?
All Over the World.
Yeah, I do remember seeing that. Yeah, I do remember watching that on there. I do remember, I think I don't 2050. Think they were, I don't think 2050.
2050. At that time who was pop? Actually Wakamba Wawili were popping at that time with music ya soul featuring BN. Wenyeji with Abbas. But they played hata kina nani anaitwaje? Kina Jua Kali na Kiswahili. There's just cool
I don't think they were like super.
The problem tu ni so many, kila mtu anakuanga na opinions as in
and also at that point if you spoke of hip hop you were probably pointing towards, I mean the sound has evolved but at that point you were probably pointing towards the
because like
the boom bap,
at that time kwanza like I think Mau was at their prime. Uko fulani walikuwa at their prime cause wenyeji walikuwa wana pop, wamewin Kisima Awards and blah blah blah. Wakamba Wawili walikuwa wamepop. Juliani alikuwa amebreak, alikuwa na vitu zake as a standalone
with artist. Cause around that, I remember that
mentality. Abbas was Dubis. You need time I think when Abbas was Abbas, yani uko like bro, man. But
yeah, so just circling back to the story, so I'd started writing raps more towards the end of my high school life. So by the time natoka high school, entering that 1 year where you're not really doing anything, I'm starting to write raps. I can kind of like put together a verse. I'm starting to listen way more to like mixtapes and albums, like consuming whole bodies of work, right? And at the same time, I think I spoke of what Twitter is popping, and I'm on Twitter, and I'm starting to follow like some of the people I was interested in. And I remember there was even this guy called Nezo. I think I saw him on Twitter yesterday on the gram, and I remember even DMing him because he would post videos of him in the studio. Back then aunge post picha Twitter, kulikuwa na tweet pic a separate side na kulikuwa na tweet vid, so alikuwa na post alikuwa na post on tweet pic na tweet vid akiwa studio akimake beats na kurecord. So I would DM him so many questions like what's the best mic to buy. So I was but
like, bro,
what's the best mic? And I would Google and ask him.
The worst one is say money, no, what I couldn't DM.
Yeah, and I mean, shout out to him because he was very open. Alikuwa niambia like, nah, you need dynamic, you need a condenser ukam ikikaa hivi. Mi namtumia, mi naenda na Google the cheapest ones because hakuna munde hiyo time.
True.
Like, nah, not this one. So he'd give me like tips here and there, and like akimake kabit ananitumia, anasikia ni kali hivo. But at the same time, you know, I'm still sort of trying to figure out this whole beat thing. I had sijiko uliwahi kuwa na experience ya mic fulani ilikuwa inatumia FM radio.
I think
let me give you a modern example, right? There's people who have these Japanese cars where the radio is like the frequency bands of the radio are different. So kuna stations za Kenya haiwezi tune into. So they get,
I think ni 88.7.
Yeah, and you always had to add a 20 on top of the 88 to make something like that. So they buy this FM transponder expander thing, and then ashika FM when I plug in to the power outlet, the cigarette outlet in the car. And then it broadcasts, like you can even put a flash drive on it and it broadcasts.
A thing up and then now you...
Yeah, it broadcasts to your FM radio. Yeah. So take that concept and apply it to a microphone that you could buy for maybe 300, 400 shillings that broadcasts on a certain frequency, FM frequency. So you put a battery in it, you speak, you tune your radio. If it says 88, when I tune radio on 88, of course around 88 maybe hakuna station yoyote. So you tune it to that and then you speak, it broadcasts like an FM. So I had one of those. But what I did, being like the nerdy person I am, nika cable the microphone. Of course, it just had like 2 outlets. I cabled that microphone, so I had a wire coming out of it into like a regular headphone jack, plugged into the microphone port on the PC, on the computer. So I effectively now have a mic that I can speak into that leads to
your beat,
to the computer, so I can record. So as I'm still trying to figure that out, I remember, so the same aunt who gave me this PC, at some point kuna day, unajua zile sleepovers na makuzu, kuna day nimeenda huko, and they had like a PC in the house, and this is the night where I recorded my first ever song that I can say I've put together a song, and I was listening to it like all day long. Ni usiku wa manane, like I've sort of figured out, this is how I can put this together. Alikuwa na ile headphone inakwanga na the mic.
Zilikuwa mob sana kwa cyber cafe.
Exactly. So I put that on, and I think ilikuwa beat, this Snoop Dogg beat. Snoop Dogg, I wanna rock right now. My name is Home and I came to run it down. It's your boy internationally known. What's that song called? And ilikuwa na wale maboy walikuwa na skinny jeans wakifanya the jerking move. That beat
hiyo jam iko na Pharrell ama it's a
No.
it's a
No,
Pharrell
it's a
beat.
Snoop song with a remix with Hove.
I think it's
that
a
came
Pharrell
out,
beat, if I'm
something
not
like
wrong.
that.
I think it's a
I
Pharrell
Wanna
beat.
Rock. I think that's the night I recorded my first song. In hindsight, it sounds terrible. And I think somewhere in my parents' house, there's a disc
With that jam.
that has that song or some other old song.
Madhi, if you're watching this, tafuta hizo stuff tuzileak.
Don't know where ama ni mimi niko na by the way inaweza kwa
Alright, after tu huko ndio unaiweka huko kwa streaming sites as in
and funny thing I'm pretty sure nikifungua hiyo comp juu si kuharibika iliharibika ni kuabandon
ulikuwa zile za on to the next one.
I'm pretty sure nikifungua iko na beats zangu za kitambo na recording zangu za kitambo, but that's how I end up figuring out like kumbe naweza record, kumbe put this at this point hata sija patana na YouTube or anything like that, you know, so I'm just figuring out.
YouTube ilikuwa nika gold msi.
Exactly. Plus net ni cyber cafe.
Mse mi usema bro. Mi ambia watu iwa saizi manze mko na the most important capital, the internet
and resources like free resources at that. Yeah.
Unaona we mi kwanza niko zile za niko excited because unasema there was a microphone and ulikuwa unatumia ukaiwaya into the tenje and stuff. Si unajua time yetu tulikuwa tukitry kurap, me and my bro Ron Boy tulikuwa tunafanyaje, tunachukua tape
kwa radio,
cassette msee ya mzae ya rumba, tuna rewind and then bro wangu Mbig alikuanga into hizi, so yeye alikuwa kampoa, alikuwa amemaliza USIU, so yeye ndiye alikuwa hiyo face na unasema ya PCs and stuff, yeah, those things. Na I think alikuwa na make beats cause kuja home unapata there's a whole CD ya beats different cause alikuwa pia anadu ma projects za basketball, so aki-edit the 2 mini clips anaweka hizo na ni ma beats za bomba because ni msihipo. So we dub the beat, so mna dub mnakuwa rada, si ndio hiyo tenje mmeweka CD and then mko hapo ready na lyrics zenu, mko like we hakuna kuslack. So ukivinya record hii beat sisi tuna rap so mna record vocals na mna dub beats as in even then babake bro sisi tuko na ngoma bana. Sasa umeenda umechukua verse ya line 2 kutoka kwa hii verse ya bass and then umefit na verse ya juu msee hadi biu kwa hii mimi sema
and I think okay pia mimi nikianza kurap ilikuwa hivyo cause my thing is sikuwa naweza put together the entire verse. So for inspo like I'd steal a line ya msee mwingine una bite ile tu vile tu iko ama venye tu iko, so I'd bite the line and it would inspire me to add my own stuff. Then maybe after a couple of lines una bite ingine ama una bite a flow and then you add to it. So
interesting.
And I guess, you know, that's how you sort of start to build your influences, because of course you're not biting from a random rapper. You're probably biting from someone someone you're a fan of. But yeah, just circling back, that's the year I sort of started to figure things out. It's like, okay, I can rap. Okay. Now like he beat sawa. Na hiyo ndo time mixtape era yetu imeanza shika, so I can literally go on, I don't know, hipstrumentals.com na download tape nzima ya mabits za wase wengine. Like your tape, it has like literally like the raw instrumentals from some of your favorite songs, and they would release these tapes and these instrumentals. Ngoma mpya inatoka tu hivi, hipstrumentals.com, unatafuta unapata beat iko hapo. So you know, una download maybe one of your favorite beats, rap on it. And I guess at this point, like, so many things are happening because I'm listening to a lot of music now. I'm starting to sort of figure out who's my favorite, figure out what's going on. I remember, I guess there's just always people that I give credit to when it comes to like my work and like my journey in music. A friend of mine, well, she lives in Canada right now, but I remember kuna time alikuwa nakam Kenya na yeye alikuwa ananiambia like, oh yeah, me I download my things on torrents nini back then when like that type of music consumption was like heavy. Well, now we pay for streaming and Spotify and Apple and Boomplay and like stuff like that, but back then watu walikuwa na download So she had like a catalog of music. So I remember her telling me she's coming to Kenya, and I was kind of like, you see all that music you have? Like, just put it on CDs. Like, I'll show you how to make this. Just put it on CDs. Alafu nilete. So when I got a hold of those CDs, they had like so many. Of course, alikuwa amezirusha tu randomly. So I had to sort of, and me being organized, like if you know me, I'm super organized. Ilikuwa sasa like, okay, huyu.
So unamweka kwa folder moja.
Folder yake, to date, if I give you my computer, you will figure out where everything is, because everything's categorized, everything is like organized. So now I have a collection of music that I can listen to. So this is when I'm getting in tune with like I don't know. This is my first time hearing like Cole.
Yeah, you need Friday Night Lights.
And not even like the entire tape. Ilianza tu na instrumental ya Lights Please. I was like, hey, beat. Who's this? This is my first interaction with I guess a lot of my favorites, like what siku hizi, but not in terms of what I would see on TV, but in terms of having like a whole album and I can listen to them top down. So this is my first sort of interaction with a lot of like albums and consuming music at that level, not just radio singles and TV videos. Now like project. Whole project, and kind of feeling like, again, the mixtape culture is popping, so I'm kind of like, yeah, I should also have a mixtape.
Because your time yakina Cole, it was crazy because Cole was heavy with the mixtapes. I think even that's the same time Drake was like
so again, this is my first interaction with projects Zase. Drake nilikuwa nimesikia tu best I ever had on TV. But this is when naangalia napata kuna comeback season.
Uko like
Friday Night Lights. I'm like, okay, Wale, More About Nothing. I think Rick Ross had Teflon Don around the same time, and I'm like, hey, like there's albums. It's my first interaction with I think Distant Relatives by Nas and Damien.
2010.
Yeah, that's the year.
That's
the year. So it's my first interaction with like a lot of like these hip hop albums and whatnot. So I'm listening, I'm making beats, I'm rapping, sort of now learning. This is still before being heavy on YouTube, because I'll tell you a story about how I feel like YouTube, I don't want to say changed my life, but there's 2 videos that I watched that changed how I think about my perspective about how I make my beats. But yeah, I'll tell you that. But I think yo mwaka moja, a lot happened in terms of
that's
I acquired a lot of music
major
that I could now learn from. Like even some of my favorite producers back then, napata nimeanza kusikiza hiyo ni beat tag, okay, so ina sounding hivyo. Like I figured a lot out in 2010. So by the time I'm starting uni in 2011, it's a whole different ball game. Like I've attempted to record in the house, I'm making beats, and now like, okay, I guess life is starting to happen again, because sasa umeenda campo.
Unaweza ukienda campo ni a different
thing. But what used to happen, sikuenda campo mbali na home. So I guess the homesickness drives you to like, see home, it's just 2 months away and get to town and the home. So every Friday I'd go home, come back to school on Sunday. Every Friday I'd go home, come back to school on Sunday. One of my main aims of going home was because kuna comp home. Well, yeah, and kind of like it's a new environment. I don't want to spend my weekend in school. Your assignments are not heavy because you just started, but I would go home. So this was my thing. I would go home.
That's the first time you're moving out, as in coming to Kampong, the first time
I mean, high school nilienda boarding school, but then this is different now because it's like
you're home, but
it's kind of,
because
you're not in like school uniform, so you don't feel like a
student. The first time nime stay peke yangu, and I think pia nikiingia uni when I was in uni.
Yeah.
The first time like ever, because all hiyo time ingine yote unapata it's either niko na stay na bro wangu ama sister. I like see me peke yangu.
Yeah.
It took me karibu like 4 months, because ni kila weekend nilikuwa na either natafuta sistango mabro niaje hii weekend unafanya
Yeah.
niko tu mta
Sawa na kama.
so huyo akikwambia hii weekend yako na shughuli unakola ule mwingine unafanya nini because haujui kuishi peke yako kwa
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I mean, so I'd go home. So first of all, coincidentally, one of the guys that I was put in a room with, Romeo tulikuwa sa wanne. Coincidentally, he has this dope laptop. He's also interested in rapping and he's interested in making beats. I don't know if you know him. His name is Kavuela. He's not in Kenya anymore, but we sort of started recording sasa pamoja. Pamoja.
Because nyote interest ni the same.
Interest ni the same na yako na labi. Akona facility. Mi nimeanza kugain the know-how so record hivi even though na make beat. So I would go home on Friday and Sunday afternoon nikirudi chuo I would always come back with either 1 or 2 new beats. Wase connect kwa system nilimeki beat jana. Kali next weekend mpaka inafika mahali it's like leo meka mna beat it's like
demand
no, like you know like it became this thing. It's like I can make a beat. I always go home come back with a beat or 2. At some point not too long after to join camp, or maybe nearly join campus 2011 January, February, March, April. Maybe in May, June, hapo nishajuana with the guys. You know, me and the homie are talking about music. We decide is how we're buying a mic. So this is like now the beginning of where I start recording professionally with like a studio mic. Because ile ingine huko mgeni ya kufunga mawaya. So this is me.
Gari ya box mse.
So this is me starting to record professionally. So we go out to town. There's a music store in town. We buy this USB mic. USB mics, easiest bar of entry. You don't need an interface. You just plug the thing in. It's plug and play. One time, open up your software, get to recording. It was like that easy. Yeah, and I remember the day we bought the mic, ilikuwa on a Friday. Kaida Friday simini ilikuwa naenda
home.
Tulitoka Friday, tukenda tao. We bought the mic. Yeah, kwa naenda home. He came back to school with the mic. Mi nikaenda mtaani. Skulala home yoding. I was like, I gotta go.
Kuna mic
kuna vile kuna shughuli fulani lazima nipige.
Umebai watoi mpya then imekuwa juu ya kabati kwa like
I was like siwezi ka like that was like the first time mpaka ile mzani was like it's like yeah, there's something I really need to do like today like mnatunika
hiyo ni drive dope
technical appearance and then I need to go back cause and I think either that night or the next morning, all I know is by the end of the next morning, me and him had our first song. Okay, this is not my first song. Kumbuka jaribu. But I would say this is like my first professional sounding song. And that's a song. It's on my first mixtape that came out October 20th. I'll never forget it. October 20th, 2011. So this is later on in the year.
Only 10 years ago.
Yeah, pretty much.
12. It's 12 years ago. Yeah. Bro.
Yeah.
Waso ingi huko kutafuta.
So,
Spotify?
No, that's not on streaming.
Why?
Because, I mean, remember this is 20s G what?
It's okay.
Hatujui vile kuweka
but uko nazo
streaming. I have them, but then again ni mixtape era, so you have a beat from so and so, a beat from so and so. I do have maybe 4 or 5 original songs that I produced or co-produced with the homie. But most of it was just like, a beat from the beat zingine hata hujui ni za nani, because when you download the beat pack, you just run through it. Inikali. Again, that's the era
for that time pia kukuwa na information ya like copyright, ABCD copyright.
Na indo era pia producers and beat makers are also starting to come up. So kuna wase mixtape inatoka but ni mixtape ya beats purely. Just producers trying to get on by making beats and releasing them. So we just download those and then it's like done deal. Just unatafuta ukiget unarap.
Bro, at that time 2011 us guys were heavy on Reverb Nation.
Exactly. And, Reverb Nation.
Bro,
I still get emails from Reverb Nation because I still
mimi
have my
hadi I
account,
think
right?
kwanza
But I
za
don't
room
think
16
anyone cares about it anymore.
Paka leo mi kwanza I have as in niko na catalog fulani hapo ya that era 2011 to around 2015. Kuna dope tracks zilitoka hapo ziko on my Reverb Nation manze. Mi wende huko tu yani for the nostalgia.
Actually, now that you say that, your mixtape yangu ya kwanza, it's still whenever I want to listen to it, yes, I have my original copy, but whenever I want to like stream it, I just go on Reverb Nation.
iko
'cause
Reverb?
it's on Reverb Nation.
Yeah, watu hiyo
And
easy
like a
understand
bunch
Reverb.
of like other songs. Yeah, just search reverbnation.com/Kevin Grant, or just search for Kevin Grants on reverbnation.com. You'll find like my very old, please don't hate me for that, but like that's my very old music from like back in the day.
It's okay, it's 10 years
But,
ago.
yeah.
Hiyo watu isikie. No, mi usema mi kwanza mi ukuwa anti-ageism in hip hop. Like, bro,
Right, yeah.
kwa sikiza hizo mziki hata kani ya
Yeah.
97
If you want to hear me at my beginning, like vile nilikuwa na sound, vile nilikuwa na rap, and trying out different styles of rap, like on a boom bap thing. Interestingly, there was probably a couple of sang hooks, like nimependa yo style ya kuimba from Jump, like from Kitambo. You'll also probably hear me rapping over like a Machine Gun Kelly beat, and I was like trying to like rap fast. But yeah, it's probably gonna be an interesting mixtape to listen to because it's a huge contrast from who I am now, who I am today, and who I was back then. And you can definitely hear this is someone like trying out all these different styles, all these different things just to sort of find their footing. And also you can hear me making music for music, just out of sheer passion. Because I think for a lot of people, it starts like that. Like, yeah, you're super passionate, you can really do this. And then at some point you start trying to figure out how to monetize. And of course, that it's a bit into, or even largely into your craft.
It actually eats largely into your craft because so you're thinking about the consumer. You're not making music for yourself.
Yeah.
You're not expressing yourself kwa like niaje. Nataka niandike hii mziki for Intronics maybe.
Ama indo trend, even though wase wanaenda.
So you're actually not like representing that which you feel.
Yeah.
You're just ascribing to a specific narrative.
Yeah. Which I'm not the biggest fan of. And even when I do that, I always just try and make sure that me fuse some Kevin Grants into it. But yeah, so 2011 is when we're now really making music almost every weekend. We have a mic, a lot of influence from the mixtape culture that's going on. So now I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm ready to put together this mixtape, and I'm working on this mixtape. Twitter is sort of starting to catch on.
It was popping.
And there were even, I don't know if you remember these services that were tied to Twitter, third-party services tied to Twitter, but specifically for music.
Not really.
There was one called Twitum. That's TWITURM, twitum.com. It was specifically for posting music. There was another one, Tweet Something, again for posting music. Of course, Reverb Nation, your time inachatisha. Reverb Nation ilikuwa inatusumbua. Like, if you're not ranking on the Reverb Nation charts,
bro.
And it always used to be Nonini, Capella, Nonini.
Hey, bro. Reverb was crazy.
Reverb Nation was.
I think nimeona wase wako na hii culture ya playlisting on Spotify and stuff. If ningekuwa najua ni nini nafanya back then mi naweza sema I'm among the first people could do like playlisting because I was actually uploading strictly Kenyan underground hip hop playlists.
Right.
Na kuambiaje GRANDS nipatie ngoma yako moja, HR nipatie ngoma moja, Smalls nipatie hii, and then I upload on my page. I even did the same thing on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Then nikafika place so nikaambia say instead of me telling you to give me your song, I upload it. Nakwambia upload and then now
and then I can
Now
because
the playlist.
SoundCloud is first of all, SoundCloud, beautiful platform. I think it took over where Reverb Nation
Yes.
dropped the ball.
True.
Beautiful platform. Of course, I like streaming services, zimekuja zimeipita, but on SoundCloud you could do that. It's like upload your own music, but I can come and make a public playlist by looping in like tracks from like different people.
unaita tolapo Kenyan hip hop volume 1.
And that's pretty dope because you get to showcase, like, if you have the, let's call it star power or like journalistic authority to tell people this is what's going on, then a playlist on SoundCloud at that point would make it
was
possible.
ilikuwa crazy
Because you're able to drive numbers to the individual artists' platforms and not like have to go through, I guess, in today's world, like a copyright situation where mbona uli upload ngoma yangu, like,
kuna too much protocol,
you know.
see.
So it
Which
would
is
also,
good. I'm
yeah,
like,
which
it's
is
okay,
dope.
it's okay.
I mean, doing the playlist on SoundCloud, of course, would drive numbers. So if I know that I value your musical like opinion, if you tell me here's a playlist of the dopest stuff that I've had in the past 1 month, then you enable all these other artists to like grab my attention or like have my ear. But yeah, so 2011 is when sasa tuko ndani, like we're in it, like we're in the thick of it because we're now recording music. We just hang the mic off of like the closet and like record straight into the laptop. And
You've watched The Shy?
no,
Yeah, watch The Shy. There's a guy called Popper. He has a podcast and he record ndani ya closet. Like,
that
he
was
opens
us.
the katingi and like
Yep.
billionaire stuff will go like, damn.
So what we do is we'd put like manguo chini so that in case the microphone is too heavy and disconnects, it doesn't hit the floor. It sort of has a soft landing.
Soft landing.
It didn't happen too many times, but like soft landing lazima because
ifanyike.
your mic ilikuwa like precious
see.
because you bought it with money that we didn't have. But yeah, so that's when we're really making music. And I guess at the same time, a lot is sort of happening. Like there's a talent situation, a talent show that we used to do every Thursday in school. So at the same time, indoor time, I'm meeting guys like Monaja.
Big up Monaja, manze.
This is the time I'm meeting. That's the time I met Shuki. That's the time. Of course, me and Kavuela were like roomies. That's the time I'm meeting who? Just other people who could rap or like who could sing. Because I look like the showcase of the immortals. Like, kama unataka kuperform chuo Thursday night, there was always like a talent.
1 to 5.
That's when I met 1 to 5. And I think it's ridiculous because I feel like the first day or evening I met 1 to 5, we made a song.
Trust me. Huyo ni Ray.
Both of them.
Oh, Ray and Sydney.
Ray and Sydney.
Because
I have a song. I think it might be on my Reverb Nation. It's not Amapiano, but it's like a dance house sort of track. It's called Smile.
Because those niggas are very versatile.
Super versatile. I think either the very first time I met them, or maybe I met them, figured out they were making music, and then the next time I met them, I had a song. Simple hook that just said like, you gotta smile for me. And Ray just always has bars like
Ray, any day, anytime.
Ray, any day,
Number
anytime.
one shooter,
like,
man.
if there's a mic, we're recording. And like, yeah, so either the very first time or second time I linked up with 125, we made a song. So that's when I'm starting to like meet all these people. That's the first time I perform in school at the talent show, me and Kavuela. So remember, we've been making music, so we get to perform a few songs for this talent show situation, and we get recognition for the very first time. So this is like my first high school now ilikuwa to like this, but this is my first time shaking like a leaf in front of
An audience, a live
an audience, a live audience that's looking at you, waiting for you to disappoint.
Ni
Right?
kina nani?
Yeah, and we're just like thin guys in campo, first year, but
joy
then
is
we
there.
kill it. Like the hunger is there, the fear is there, but we kill it so much, and like everyone like loves the music, and I think that sort of sets the stage for like, wait, like we can actually like this music thing actually like works. Like we can keep making songs. I'm putting together my mixtape, and I guess it's pretty much the same time I did my first ever video. It's on YouTube, but it's on private. I kind of feel like I don't want people to see that. I'll show it to you, but I kind of feel like I don't want people to see that. And we shot that with like a Panasonic PD camera za mass communication class zenye zinatumia tape. Najua una shoot video mzima kwa tape. Bro. But the homies came out. We had like a good time. There was like an old broken down bus, and we kind of went to shoot there. Yeah, that was like actually. This is actually wicked. My very first video, Shukid was in it, and I'd sort of just met him. This is later on in the year. So we were in school together. We used to see him because he used to be like the cool guy in like the cool shoes and like cool jeans.
Yeah. At that time, si Shukid alikuwa amekam from... He just came back from Stito. Apana.
I think he'd been here a while.
Yeah.
But he sort of had that swag about him, and even the way he spoke. So si tulikuwa tunajua tu, kuna ule mse fulani. We didn't even know he was a rapper. Tulikuwa tunajua just like the cool kid on like the block. Like yendo yotokea akienda shop, yodunga nini, things like that. So there's this other dude who finds out that I rap, and he's like, oh yeah, niko na best yangu rap, alafu yendo alitulink. So around this time that I'm shooting your video yangu ya kwanza is when I just met Shukid, and I'd figured out I was wrapping up my mixtape. Actually, tape ilikuwa imeisha, ilikuwa inaitwa The Bright Side State of Mind. So I did a song called Road to the Bright Side. And I was kind of like, this is the perfect song to put Shukid on, rapper that I just met. It's the song that's gonna promo the tape. Unasikia hiyo mindset like nitadu ngoma inaitwa Road to the Bright Side, of which tape yangu inaitwa The Bright Side, alafu nitadropping ngoma ikiwa na hii video and get people sort of excited for
who's these
the tape. Right? So we do the song, and then we end up doing the video, and then I guess we just become like tight. And again, Shukid was in a group with Raj. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah, Raj nini.
With Raj.
Hey, bro.
Dizzy Flow.
Bro. Another versatile MC.
Yeah. So around this time is when I'm also meeting... Sasa Sako limeanza ku-expand. I'm meeting Raj.
Because at that time, 20 that's 2011 2012.
That's 2011 2012 na watu walikuwa na njaa.
Raj alikuwa anafanya alikuwa heavy, alikuwa tapped in.
Watu walikuwa naekelea kazi mbaya sana. So
I think memory imeisha. We take a break and then we get back. Sindo. Mr. Director Intronics. Keep it locked, manze. Tuko hapa na Kevin GRANDS tunapiga story.
That's roughly an hour. 3 million hours long.
Manze, but it is what it is. The story is dope. Back to basics, man. This is back to basics. Back to basics.
Back to basics.
Back to basics.
Back to basics. Back to basics. Back to basics.
Podcast. Back to basics podcast.
You're listening to Back to Basics podcast.